Well, thank you everybody for joining. I hope we are going to be delivering an amazing session today. We're going to be focused on AI automation in healthcare and life sciences and focus really on improving patient and provider experiences along with drug manufacturing and operational efficiency. Today's discussion is hosted by Pronix in partnership with Kore.ai. And I'm thrilled to have you all join us today as we explore the future of healthcare and life sciences innovation. Sorry, I'm a bit excited. This is going to be a great discussion. At Pronix, we are passionate about leveraging the power of AI to transform industries, and healthcare and life sciences no exception. AI has become a game changer across all industries. Healthcare and life sciences are leveraging AI to deliver more personalized experience, streamline administrative tasks, increase operational efficiency, and ultimately deliver better patient outcomes. So whether you're making the drugs or you're delivering the services, we have a very meaty discussion today to help you all uncover some of the best practices and implementations. Today, we'll dive into how AI-driven solutions like virtual assistants, chatbots, Precision Diagnostics are helping the companies deliver these, again, better patient outcomes and ultimately drive operational efficiencies across life sciences. I'm honored to have our esteemed guest be part of our discussion to share their insights, real-world experiences, and innovative solutions that they are helping develop to help shape and change the future of healthcare and life sciences. Before we get started, for those of you who are not familiar with Pronix, we are a leader in AI automation solutions, specializing in conversational and generative AI technologies. We partner with large industry giants like Kore.ai, Microsoft, SAP, and Tricentis to provide cutting-edge solutions across sectors. In healthcare, our goal is to drive innovation and experiences that enhance both patient and provider outcomes. In life sciences, operational efficiency is our goal, as we are looking to drive and deliver more operationally efficient and scalable operations to deliver faster drug manufacturing practices. Now, I'd like to introduce my panel today. We're joined by two thought leaders in the field of AI, healthcare, and life sciences. Both bring a wealth of knowledge and experience in delivering AI innovations for both healthcare and life sciences companies. First up is Chip Stieners, a leader at Kore.ai. Hi, Chip.
Hey, hello, Chris. Thanks for including me.
Perfect. Great to see you. And another leader that we have, leader in generative AI in the pharmaceuticals industry, Ramesh Natarajan. Hey, Ramesh.
Hey, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Perfect. I'm looking excited to get both of your perspectives. Each of you will be sharing experiences and actionable insights that will help us deliver impactful strategies for transforming healthcare and life sciences. So let's get started. Ramesh, I'll start with you. How is AI being leveraged in life sciences to streamline repetitive tasks or enhance the operational efficiencies of the companies that you've seen?
It's a great question, Chris. Thanks for having me, first of all, and it's a great pleasure to talking to, the elite audience on this topic. During COVID, a lot of people changed their whole strategy. A lot of companies, they moved to, from in-office to work from home. And Gartner did a study of how people spend their time, right? The 9 to 5 or 8 hours period. And they found out it's close to about 25% of the time people spent on searching information or doing repetitive tasks out of that 8 hours. So that's a lot of hours if you look at it, right? So that is where, we see a potential. Even if you shave off, let's say, 30 minutes or half an hour in your regular 8 hours time frame, it's a huge savings for a company, regardless of what industry it is, right? Most of the time we search for contents, somewhere we store it in a SharePoint or S3 bucket or somewhere in our personal laptop or desktop or whatever it is. But we look for information and we search for it, right? Sometimes it could be a query structured data. And if you look at supply chain of the pharma industries, they could be searching for information related to vendor, suppliers to see, what is happening with this vendor or supplier, whether they're financially stable or not. All that, they had to spend hours and hours of time to cleanse through various websites to, glean the insights, whether the particular company is doing well or not. So all these areas are potentially a great opportunity for creating an AI agent to skim through all the public available information. And you just ask a question, how is my vendor X is doing? And boom, like now you can get the answers through the ChatGPT kind of interface, and then you can pull it. So those are a lot of areas where you could leverage it in supply chain or in query structured data. Other aspect could be in the pharma area is like finding out the adverse reactions for your medicines. So there are a lot of areas where we could leverage AI in removing the obstacles of the repetitive task.
Very nice, very nice. So, Chip, same question, but more around healthcare. What are you seeing as some of the applications to streamline repetitive tasks and enhance operational efficiencies through AI?
Yeah, thanks, Chris. And leveraging some of Ramesh's comments and perhaps where the audience mind is, when you're in need of chatting with your doctor, or you have a family member that needs some medical care, you're hoping for an engaged interaction with that physician, that nurse, that caregiver. AI is showing the greatest promise today, and will likely in the future, of helping the caregivers, those physicians, spend more time directly interacting with you as the patient or your family member. And AI becomes a support tool to help that physician, that nurse, that clinical caregiver reduce some of the administrative and we'll say clerical tasks that they would ordinarily have to deal with. Some simple examples that are out there already is in using an AI assistant to take notes during the conversation that you might be having with them. And that can obviously occur in the background with very, very little intrusion into the conversation. But the products we develop at Kore take it a step further than that. We help to automate many of the steps that help to streamline those visits that you have, or to automate some of the back-end billing and documentation components of healthcare delivery. So AI can be used in a very powerful way to summarize the actions that might occur during the delivery of patient care, but also ensure that you as the patient are seeing the most appropriate caregiver for the condition that you're seeking care for. Oftentimes, there's a lot of structural bureaucracy in getting to personalized healthcare. AI helps to wipe some of that away and really get down to what are the important aspects. How are you feeling? What is impacting your day-to-day activity? That's where the medical professionals can have the most impact, and they can do that because there are AI tools that are reducing their burden and helping you as a patient spend more time with your physician.
Beautiful, beautiful. And that's a perfect segue. So, Chip, I'll start with you here on the next one. We were talking a little bit in depth about how virtual assistants and chatbots are playing a role in improving the patient experience. Can you dive a little bit deeper into maybe some use cases around how your automation improves that as well? That was very poignant.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll draft off of those previous comments. Let's say, for example, you are scheduled to see your physician, and it's later in the day. But unfortunately, something has come up with work, and you can't keep that appointment. But reaching the doctor's office to be able to find out if they could see you an hour later, or to be able to maybe adjust the schedule in some way, can be tedious for the patient, when in reality, you're just trying to accommodate your schedule as well as that of the provider. We have developed AI tools that will facilitate a conversation. You pick up the phone, you make a call, and you end up talking with a very capable, lifelike virtual assistant, and you explain your situation. I'm delayed at work, or I need to pick up my child after school, after their after-school activity. Can I come into my appointment an hour later? What are the options? The virtual assistant, which has full awareness of your doctor's schedule and their options, will propose some choices, but most importantly, report back to the physician the change in the schedule that has occurred. And that conversation can happen in a convenient way for the patient, and it's also operationally efficient for the caregivers, the providers, so that they don't have to necessarily be taken away from their daily work to discuss something as administrative as I just described. So our tools really break that human-machine interface down to something that is effective, impactful, and makes all of our lives better and easier to get the care that you need.
Very nice, very innovative. Ramesh, I'd like to ask you, how are AI and generative AI solutions like chatbots, virtual assistants being used on the life sciences side?
See, there are a lot of examples similar to what Chip has mentioned, in terms of doctor selections, in terms of, identifying the schedules. And by the way, just having that ability to remind the person, I'm sure Chip's Kore.ai has that as well, that reminding a person that, hey, your appointment is due tomorrow, or, it's coming up in 2-3 hours. That has resulted in more than 25% increase of not skipping the appointment, because people have their work and, there are a lot of things come in the way, like in the daily affairs. Just nudging them to saying that, hey, you have the schedule tomorrow, reminds them and say, oops, either I need to reschedule or I had to, make sure that I go for that. That has resulted in a lot of positive, turnaround for the doctors. Otherwise they would have booked the appointment, and if the person no shows, then it's a waste of time and a lot of money for them, right? In life sciences, what happens is it's a similar approach, but normally people search for documents a lot, right? What is said in the particular adverse reactions, right? And they comb through thousands of documents usually to get that. And life sciences is one area where you can't just fake it or anything. You have to substantiate your responses with the proper, citations and so on. So imagine you're having your documents sitting in a SharePoint with 100, 200 files, and you're searching for something, right? So this is where the kind of a chatbot helps you ask a question. It can go through about 100 files in a flicker of a second, and then it can not only say what the content is about, but it can also refer to that citation. Imagine you have a file with 100 pages, and what you're referring is on the 36th page, and it can pull up that 36th page. You just click on it, boom, you see the content for it. So that's a lot of chatbot applications. It's more like a conversational, if you look at it, right? And also, if you look at it, the field representatives, when they go to the doctor's office, they can communicate through some virtual assistants, and then talk to the doctor even before they go to the HCPs. Right? There are a lot of opportunities to improve there, and just a conversation with the customers engages the better experience for them as well.
Okay, let's stay with you, Ramesh, and let's talk a little bit about AI-driven automation. How is that helping reduce the burden on your life sciences staff and ultimately enable them to focus on achieving better outcomes?
See, just taking that example of chip itself, right? If you look at the automation process of the AI, like it reduces the wait time, right? And also it reduces the time taken for finding out some information of the clinical studies or a particular adverse reactions and so on like that, right? So it is a lot of AI implementation helps in those things. If you're looking at from a hospital perspective, the readmission rates, right? Based on the predictive model, you could say, okay, whether the person for a particular disease is going to come back or not like that. So there's a lot of cost savings in terms of content search, in terms of predicting particular patient's behavior and so on like that. It all helps to reduce the operating cost for a particular institution. It could be a hospital, it could be a life sciences industry as such, right? There's a lot of work we can do, like we can do the pilot programs to ensure that whether the particular automation works or not, and before even you scale it, right? There's a lot of applications can be done in the area of search, like content searching, or like getting the adverse reactions, getting the supply chain aspect of like whether a particular vendor is he going to supply my the switches and the gloves and everything on a regular basis, all that. So a lot of time saved in terms of the efforts to reduce all that searches, right? So that's a huge help in terms of the AI implementation.
Very nice. Chip, I want to stay there. Let's talk a little bit deeper about some of the use cases that you all have developed over at Kore.ai. Can we talk a bit about how those automations are reducing burdens across the board? What are the better outcomes that you're seeing achieved through AI-driven automation, Chip?
Yeah, let me just preface my reaction by saying I think we all appreciate healthcare is a strongly regulated environment, even more so than finance and some other industries that you might think of. And therefore, as Ramesh said, whatever automation tools that are leveraged, they can't make stuff up. They need to follow verbatim the specific materials that are produced and approved as part of any type of healthcare treatment or diagnostic approach. And that brings into focus all the more reason why having a virtual assistant that will be consistent in its response to questions from patients or even clinical providers. It will always deliver the same measured and fundamentally accurate response. That goes towards the efficiency. We now have a consistent, pre-trained solution for a myriad of questions. If a patient, for example, has a question about a therapy that they've been prescribed by their doctor, they might turn to the physician. They may also turn to the pharmacist. They may also turn to the internet. We all know that those three sources of information could provide a slightly disparate response, when in reality there is a governed, approved response that one of our virtual assistants can deliver. So if you're searching for answers such as can I drink alcohol while I'm on a certain drug therapy? Am I allowed to go on in an airplane if I'm currently under the following treatment? Those are real world questions that would ordinarily take a lot of time for the patient and their family to try to get to an answer. And a virtual assistant relying on the documentation that has already been prepared and approved can be the source of that truth. And so, to get back to your specific question, Chris, where are some of the efficiencies in this automation? It's being able to deliver efficient, accurate, and ultimately consistent answers to really important questions that patients would have. Physicians might have some of the same questions if they've got a patient sitting in their office, or there's a medical professional that wants to refresh their memory on maybe some of the conditions that could occur during a certain treatment. And then lastly, I'll point out, we have observed the benefit of being able to identify when a patient, for example, is describing their symptoms, which in fact might be an important adverse event. And if there is such an adverse event, there are requirements in this industry to be able to capture when and how and provide consistent guidance to both the healthcare professionals as well as the patients around that particular action area. So another way to efficiently deliver value using AI automation.
Being the expert here, we're going to stay with you for this next question. And we're talking about implementations. We'll first start off with you, Chip. How do you all measure at Kore the success and ROI of the AI implementations that you've achieved in healthcare and life sciences? What outcomes do you specifically look for?
Well, and I'm very pleased you asked that question. We feel it's one of the strengths of certainly our platform to be able to quantify in an objective way the impact that automation can have. It starts with being able to report how consistently and accurately our system determines the intent, that is the thought behind the question or request that one of our users might have, and being able to report that and show how it may vary based on the topic area helps guide additional configuration and training for the systems. So we measure intent. We also measure the automation efficiency. We will have baseline information. What does it take, for example, someone to do it on their own? What does it take to get a live human assistant to solve a problem or surface information? And then we can also measure very accurately how efficiently a virtual assistant, an AI assistant, can get that same information. And then we can compare and contrast it. Quite frankly, our analytics allow you to break down all the components of a conversation into discrete steps, report on those steps, and be able to demonstrate where the value is for each one of them.
Very nice. Ramesh, I have the same question for you as a leader who leads implementations. How do you all define and measure success and ROI of the implementations that you've led? Some best practices.
That's a great question. That's a great question, Chris. See, especially when generative AI space, because a lot of people are now aware of generative AI and they're trying to implement it across the company, and they're trying to see okay, it increases the productivity, right? And it's very easy to loosely use the term, oh, it increases the productivity, but if you don't measure something like before and after, as Chip mentioned, it's very difficult to quantify the impact of the AI. In a example which I already mentioned, let's say the content search, if you take it for an example, previously, if let's say a person takes 2 hours to get through all the content available in various sources, and then compiles it and puts it in the summary form and so on like that. But now with generative AI, you could skim through all this hundreds of documents, and you can create the content, and not just creating the content in terms of summary or so on, but with the citations, with the quotes, because in the life industry or any industry for that matter, your relevance plays a major role, right? Where exactly you got that information. You can't just say, this is my content without citations, right? So those things, and let's say you're asking a question to ChatGPT kind of a tool, and now you're able to get that response very quickly. At the same time, if that information is accurate and you're getting it in 5 minutes, so that's a huge savings. So you have to think about before and after in most of the automated cases. You have to run it, you have to do the POC and say, okay, this is how we are getting it. And then when you're doing the actual implementation, you have to track how many people are using it. And let's say 100 people are using it, and your estimated time savings is about half an hour per person, then you are saving that many hours per organization. And then you take your cost of, let's say in a pharma industry, if you take an average salary, you can get it from any of the sources like Glassdoor or something like that, right? And let's say that is like $75 per hour. I'm just making up the number here. So now you have a clear metric of clear savings of 100 persons, half an hour per day, and then $75 per hour. Then you get okay, this is my savings because of my automation process. So you have to have that clear understanding of what you're trying to measure and also how you're going to measure. All the things have to happen even before you start your project. It's not after the project. So that is where you can very clearly quantify your, the purpose of the automation and as well as the benefit of it.
Perfect. We're going to stay with you, Ramesh. So you dove really deep. Let's talk about the biggest challenges you face when implementing AI solutions, and how did you overcome those challenges?
That's a great question. The first challenge generally is the fear, right? When generative AI got rolled out about 2 years ago around this time, right? The hype was so much. I'm being in industry, I could say it's a hype at that point because everyone was really worried about the job. Is it everyone said, oh, it can create a Python code, it can create R code. So the developers got scared, right? Or it can remove automation. Now I can do the summary in just 5 seconds rather than going through 5 people to do the summarization for me, right? Like that. So people are really scared that is it going to change everything? But one thing we have to understand is no matter what the tools come and go, the abilities to being more productive come and go. Today it is generative AI, tomorrow it could be something else, right? But just remember the days when computers got rolled out, right? Everyone said it's going to replace people left and right. But yes, some aspects of it removes the personnel from the workforce, but then it creates opportunity in the other areas. So as long as people are able to kind of adapt to the environmental changes and learn, right, then it is fine. So the fear and change management, right, that is the biggest challenge for many people who are when they hear about the AI, right? From an organization perspective, if you look at it, the data, especially in the life insurance, banking and all that, they're all governed, the regulatory agencies are right after you, right? So you have to have in HIPAA, you have to follow the regulations. And every country it is different. Now in US, it's kind of every state is going to come up with, California has come up with the latest, RAI regulations like that. So it's going to be a nightmare from a company perspective to maintain and ensure that your practices, whatever you're putting in, especially when it is touching the patients, they're going to come after you if you're not following the regulations. So those are the skills. Now, if you look at it, what I can do from, if you're an organization, you have to think about upskilling the existing employees and build that trust that it's not going to just replace everyone, but it's going to be more like adapting to the newer environment. So it's a lot of different reactions, one at the organization level, one at the government level, one at the people level. They all had to. We had to overcome those challenges.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Chip, as a solutions implementator and creator, tell me a little bit about the biggest challenges you all are seeing, and how do you overcome them?
Yeah, this very, very apropos. We're involved currently with a number of implementations to deliver value from AI automation. Organizations appreciate the potential where they often don't understand, and this becomes one of our challenges, is what are the components that make up their current process that they want to try to improve. And so we spend oftentimes an outsized amount of effort to understand and actually help our customers understand their existing process so that it can be leveraged in ways that AI will be impactful. There is no doubt that we can deliver improvements to their bottom line, but it often comes from a combination of improving their existing process and then appropriately applying some of the AI value contributions to that process. And I can give you an example if that would help, and it truly relates to patient flow through a healthcare organization. We can perhaps imagine that during a course of evaluation and then perhaps treatment, you end up interfacing as a patient with a whole group of different specialists or specialty teams, whether it's from the evaluation and diagnosis portion all the way up through the treatment and then ultimately the after treatment recovery. That process of assessing and bringing in different team members to understand what might be driving a certain medical condition is not often structured in a way that is efficient. And who ends up waiting? Actually, patients wait, but also nurses and doctors wait because of operational inefficiency. Once we sit down with one of our clients and kind of map out their current process and apply AI automation to each element, it's remarkable where the efficiencies start to come to life. But it's that extra time in the beginning to understand their current process and adapt them to be more efficient along with the use of AI that becomes often a step that is overlooked. So it starts out as a challenge, but it yields much better results once we take the time to do that investigative work and to then right size the AI solution for it.
Very nice, very nice. So let's take off our practical hat. Let's futurize a bit, theorize. Let's Chip, I'll start with you. What trends do you see in the development of AI solutions for both life sciences and personalized care and healthcare?
Yeah, that's I'm glad you saved the maybe the best questions for later in the hour. The future, quite frankly, is very bright. But as an engineer, I often muse with my colleagues that engineering is bringing the vision down to a practical delivery. Um, we think about having artificial intelligence do the thinking for us, and to do the ultimately the investigation for us. And I personally think that's a little bit misguided. What we are best at, adapted at as humans, is to design and develop tools that make us as human cognitive beings think and deliver more effectively. And so the future is in having AI processes identify where we as humans are being inefficient in our thinking and inefficient in our work. And so the future to me is having an AI automation tool study the work that is happening and make recommendations in the same way we start to see recommendations in what we type and in what we verbalize. AI automation is going to make recommendations for how to deliver the same results in a more efficient manner. But it has to have input. It has to first assess the process that's underway and understand the outcome in order for it to meaning the AI automation, recommend an improvement for you. And we see that in a lot of different industries. In healthcare specifically, we see it where suggestions could be made on additional evaluations that should occur, additional evaluations that would refine a diagnosis, or additional evaluations that might better clarify what is the underlying disease process that's occurring. So for me, that's the future, is having AI automation study our current activities and make suggestions on how to improve those activities so that we can ultimately have a better outcome.
Okay, that's really, really great insight, and I thank you for sharing that. So Ramesh, I'll rephrase the question and pass to you. What future trends excite you, or do you see coming in through the life sciences, manufacturing, that type of environment? What are you seeing that's making you excited about where AI is going to be going?
There's a lot, Chris. Like, I could imagine like the potential of AI, leave alone the AI, the potential future in the life sciences area is like personalized medicine, right? Normally, it takes about, people generally don't, estimate, it takes about like close to 8 years to 15 years for a drug to come to the commercialization phase from the discovery phase. Like, it takes a lot of time. But nowadays, it's a lot of new techniques, like even the COVID vaccines, if you look at it, on the mRNA based like that. And now a lot of research works are going into the specialized gene and cell therapy aspect of it, which has the potential of making the discovery to the commercialization in about like say 5 years. It's a long period, but still, if you look at 15 years, 12 years, 8 to 15 years, now it's coming down to 5 to 10 years period. That's really encouraging. And also it is not addressing to a very generic disease. It's going after the very rare diseases. Even at this point, we don't have a solution to it through the regular methods, right? So that's a lot of potential in the going after the rare diseases. And if you look at how COVID changed us, that is the telehealth, if you look at it, right? Earlier, you won't even imagine talking to a doctor and talking about, hey, I have this problem and all in front of a computer screen, right? But COVID changed everything, and the telehealth is adopted. Now people are going after the telehealth because it saves your commute time. Like, you don't have to go like 1 hour to the hospital, to a doctor's office, and then wait for another 45 minutes or so. If you're lucky, like generally it takes like 1.5 hours to see a doctor. The doctor sees you for 15 minutes and then you come back again like 1.5 hours to your home, right? The telehealth is a major improvement, and it will continue to improve further, right? Of course, with all the HIPAA rules and everything in place. So nowadays, people are very confident about talking to a screen and explaining the doctor on the other side, hey, this is how it is. COVID has changed that perspective. And a lot of connected devices, like if you look at it, nowadays people with diabetes, they want to monitor it. They just put a patch on their body and then have that app which tells you like, hey, your sugar level is going down, like, you need to have something in place. And that's a reminder to the person to have that, liquid or food in place so that the level stays where it's supposed to be and extend the life of that person in the long run, right?
Absolutely.
Connected devices like Apple Watch or similar ones, like they're all helping towards getting the data and then passing on to an app or store like that, so that overall, like it provides the continuously good health to the person, even at the present, so that if otherwise the person won't be checking their blood sugar level or something, and then they'll skip that meals, and then which adds further problems down the road. There are a lot of things happening in the personalized medicine space, gene and cell therapy, telehealth, remote monitoring. If a person is sick and the person is at home, like just imagine an ICU of a hospital. People sit in one, like a reception kind of area, but they monitor like 15 ICU patients. Now they could monitor like 150 patients, like remotely. And if anything happens, if a person falls or something with a video sensing, and it can immediately alert a person, and it can dial 911 automatically that, hey, this person, fell down at this particular address. And so there's a lot of technological advancements happening, and it's really exciting, future ahead.
Very nice, very nice. That was a lot of real-world examples. Are there any others, Ramesh, that you can think of from an accuracy and speed standpoint that AI is making a real impact in?
I could think of like if you look at again going back to the example, like there are a lot of cases where people live alone, right, without any help, and they want to stay in their home because that's how they bought the home for 50 years ago, and they had a lot of memories. So instead of going to the age homes, like a lot of people prefer to stay at their home. But then they want to have that activities, like, they have something like a cell phone, they attach it to keep it all the time. And if they fall or something like that, all they have to do is just press a button, right? And then it emits immediately 911 calls and so on. All this happened, the monitoring, if you look at it, or the video capturing, they could even have the videos installed in their home, which can continuously monitor their activities. If they fall, and even if the don't have the devices on their hand at that time to make the call to 911. The video camera analysis, it can run the AI behind the scene, and it can trigger that. Yes, it's going to be like cost-wise, it's a lot of things to take place for that kind of event. So if you're looking at it from an ROI perspective, it may not be the greatest solution, because you have to constantly monitor 4 videos, all the 24/7 and so on like that. But then the chances of, but if it happens, there are mechanisms in which people can be called immediately. So those are a lot of advantages using AI in those kind of scenarios.
Very nice, very nice. So, Chip, I want to get an engineer's perspective. Are there some real-world examples that you see or that you'd like to share around how AI has proven accuracy and speed across the healthcare and life sciences space?
Certainly. I think about the way we as humans learn, and it fundamentally we take in as input data from all of our sensors. eyes, ears, all the senses, and we evaluate that data and ultimately look for patterns and associate those patterns with actions, and that's fundamentally how we as humans navigate through our world and improve what we do. Using those same principles, safety, accuracy, improvement can occur if we collect the right data from situationally appropriate sensors, whether that's something as mundane as temperature and humidity, or a little bit more sophisticated like motion of patients, motion of staff, and use that to drive learning around actions that are occurring. That to me are some of the practical techniques that are already being trialed today to try to be able to do touchless patient monitoring, monitoring heart rate, respiration, certainly unusual movements, all without requiring a direct clinical hands-on, which enables some of the use cases that Ramesh was referring to earlier, and provides the efficiencies of patient monitoring, whether they're at home, driving in their car, at the office, or in an instrumented hospital room. You can collect all that data. You can associate it with the action that results from that sensor data, and then you can deliver treatments or recommendations to modify the behavior as a result of those patterns that you're identifying. So that's where we see some of the most impactful potential here, and would recommend further exploration of that. What Kore's doing from a tool delivery perspective is providing that final human-machine interface, whether it's through voice or other communication channels. We bring that AI automation to the user in a way that's natural and ultimately impactful. Some of the thoughts on the future and what we're doing today, Chris.
Absolutely. So Chip, you touched on something earlier in the hour as we get close to the top of the hour, but I want to bring back to. We're talking about how AI implementations can be compliant with regulations, data privacy, and security. You touched on the fact that it's more heavily regulated than fintech. How are you all at Kore ensuring that the AI implementations stay compliant and are updated with regulation changes?
Well, it's certainly, thank you for that question. It's an important one in this industry. It certainly starts by making sure that the systems are adhering to regulation and data security standards. But then it's vigilance around the tracking of conversations that might contain, and often do contain, sensitive information. If you look at the way that the healthcare information security requirements and protocols were developed, they were done so out of a need to, of course, protect, but also document the delivery of information, and fundamentally document the care that is rendered, so that you can go back in almost an auditing way and identify maybe where gaps were. Kore's entire platform is based upon documenting and recording all aspects of an AI conversation. So it's a natural progression for our system to be compliant and to be able to support the objective of the regulatory environment. And then lastly, a lot of times these regulations are about ensuring consistency. And there's no better tool in our experience than a virtual assistant that has a set of business rules and has a set of security requirements and documentation requirements, and is able to comply with, follow those, and then report on exactly what it's doing. So it's imperative for this industry that you take that approach, and companies like ours are in a very strong position to be able to not only comply with, but also lead the way in the kinds of the security requirements that are necessary.
Right. And so we'll close the panel off. Ramesh, I'd like to ask you the same question, but in a different way. How do you ensure that the AI implementations that you believe are best for a company are compliant or maintain data privacy and security?
Yeah, actually, just to add to Chip, he has covered a lot of grounds on that. So that makes my job easier, actually. But if you look at, see, any transformation, leave alone the AI, for a moment, it requires 4 strong pillars. One is the people. The next one is people, processes, your data, and then your technology, right? If any one of this is not sound, your organization is going to be shaky there, right? So if you're talking about AI implementation, first you have to understand, when you're looking at the people pillar, do you have enough talent there, right? Or awareness of that, right? So you have to bring up the training programs to make the people aware that, AI is not just you put something in your chat GPT and then take that and put it in your PowerPoint and send it to your folks outside, right? So you have to ensure to give the proper training that, hey, certain things you cannot do for, confidential reasons and so on like that. So you have to help people to understand and train the people. That is very imperative in that sense. Second pillar, if you look at the processes, if you have people, you are training everything, but if you don't have the process in place, that is, again, it's going to provide the shake. So you have to go through the processes, ensure that you have the right, as Chip mentioned, ensure that you have the correct processes in place. Then the technology today we are talking about is AI, right? Tomorrow it could be something else. So the technology keep changing it. So you have to ensure that it follows the rules, regulations, your data privacy, it follows ethics. So when you're doing some machine learning projects, first you do what we call an EDA process, exploratory data analysis. Ensure that your data is not biased, right? When you're looking, those are the very basic elements, but data scientists have to do that. You cannot just take something and then put it in and then say, oops, this is not regulated and I'm kind of violating it, right? So that is a huge thing. And if you look at, all this in together, right? That is where you create a very credible process in place, so that it doesn't matter whether it is AI or not, but you are already inculcating that kind of a behavior in your people, training processes to your data and everything. That is very paramount to any success. So that's what I would say. And then keep reminding people about the importance of bias, natures, training programs, and so on. If you drive, right, even if it is a dummy police car sitting on the side of it, everyone slows down. Why? Because the moment they see that, they say, oops, I don't want a ticket there, right? So people slow down. But do we really need a dummy police car to sit there on the side of the road to tell you that, hey, you can't go 25 miles above the speed limit? There is no need. But we have to constantly remind ourselves that if the moment they put some car on the side, everyone drops their speed, right? So you have to constantly remind people about the importance of all the things, ethics, security, cybersecurity. Just keep promoting that in your organization.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And so I want to give the audience an opportunity to ask some questions. So I'll toss it to Chip first. Chip, what are some of the primary challenges or opportunities that AI faces in pharmaceutical R&D? And that was sent by Adita.
Well, I'm actually going to suggest that Ramesh touch on that. From my perspective, the challenges in the pharmaceutical industry, I think, are designing the most appropriate clinical evaluation to truly identify the key impact of a new drug or therapy. That's from my vantage point. From a design and engineering perspective, I think Ramesh may be in a better position to guide us here.
All
Yeah,
right, Ramesh,
thanks,
land the
Chip.
plane for
Yep,
us.
right. See, already as he touched upon, like now, what kind of, if you're going after the rare diseases, right? It's extremely tough to get people with that kind of diseases. So the data itself is a big challenge, right? If you're going after some extremely rare cases, you have to go through as part of your discovery and then going into the commercialization. You have to go through the phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 phases. And phase 1 requires, let's say, 100 people, and phase 2 like 300, and phase 3 3,000. You have to identify the people itself. For that, like, the data can support when you're looking at the real world data and so on like that. So you have to properly segment and then develop that process in place, the clinical process, how I'm going to evaluate the clinical study itself, and then how I'm going to go through from phase 1 to phase 2, phase 3, and also ensuring the raw materials and everything are going to be available as you scale from phase 1 to phase 2 to phase 3. Because all this, every piece of it plays a major role, like your raw material, your supply chain process. When you're doing the phase 2 or phase 1 or phase 3, if the patient, we are sending some material like some medicine, injection or something like, and if it has the discolorization, then they're not going to use it. So your phase can fail potentially, right? So a lot of challenges revolving around not just the manufacturing of the product, but it evolves with a lot of other touch points as well.
Absolutely. Okay, so Chip, I'll pass to you. One of the questions is, how can smaller healthcare providers leverage AI technologies without a significant upfront financial investment?
Well, my recommendation to them would be to find a solution provider that can grow with them. We haven't found a customer ourselves that ultimately didn't want to start small, but then as the return on their investment grew, they continued to add features and functionality. Some vendors want a large infrastructure investment up front. Others, such as Kore, really grows with you and allows you as a customer to benefit at any scale. Benefit if you're only implementing one use case, or perhaps grow that into hundreds of use cases where there's a return on the use of every one of those use cases. We say ROI, return on investment. Quite frankly, at Kore, the investment is in commitment. You get a return at every level. So that's what I would recommend, is whether you're a small practice with one or two clinical providers, or you've got thousands of providers, your patients and you in your operations can benefit at any scale.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, I want to thank you both so very much for sharing your insights and joining us today. I mean, I've learned an incredible amount about some of the real world applications, the futurization, and ultimately how AI is impacting the day-to-day operations of these organizations. AI is just not a tool for innovation, but it seems to be a catalyst for meaningful healthcare and life sciences change. And whether it's through improving diagnostic accuracy, data search, that was one of the most amazing examples of, having to find a paragraph on the 36th page of a document and being able to do that in seconds rather than, hours or minutes. And then, of course, enhancing patient safety, where we talked about computer vision along with AI being able to alert somebody when somebody fell. And so I really, really appreciate you sharing with the audience your deep well of knowledge. As we close off, we at Pronix are committed to the driving of advancements forward. And we look forward to partnering with healthcare providers and life science companies to continue this journey. And if you're ready to explore any AI solutions, please feel free to connect with us. And I want to thank you, Chip and Ramesh, again. It was an incredibly impactful hour. I hope we were able to provide some of the questions that generated that thought processes. But we really thank you for today's call. Thank you so much.